Hello and welcome to episode 72, and today we are going to be discussing the Asian elephant and also complaining a bit about Frontier. Don't stress, I'll let you know when that comes, but until then, known as Elephas maximus, the Asian elephant is the second largest elephant species alive today, which also means it is the smallest, but small is a relative term, seeing how we're on the low end, talking about a 9-foot, 2¼ ton behemoth. However, size does kind of depend on subspecies, as the Asian elephant has three recognized subspecies: the Indian, the Sri Lankan, and the Sumatran elephant. The largest is actually the Sri Lankan, which reaches roughly 11.5 feet tall and 12,000 pounds. There is a dispute with the number of subspecies, however, as there may be a fourth. And seeing how the position of this animal, you may have figured out that is due to the Bornean elephant. Native to the island of Borneo, this might be the smallest subspecies, but the reason I say might is because the tests aren't exactly conclusive. See, the tests that come to that conclusion come from the measurements of deceased specimen skulls. A more recent study between 2005 and 2006 charted the measurements of 15 mainland elephants, aka Indian elephants, and 6 Bornean elephants. And these measurements were done 3 times over, and the result showed, and I quote, "no significant difference." Meaning that even if they're generally smaller than average, they're still within the normal size range of an Indian elephant. And this right here is going to be where my rant starts. Prim will put up whatever time this ends at, and you can skip to there if you don't care to listen, but I've got a bone to pick. Frontier, what are we doing? What's going on here? Alright. Why would you add an elephant that is essentially the exact same as the Indian, especially when it isn't even a recognized subspecies? There are plenty of unique animals you could have added, but you went with a resized, recolored Indian elephant? We've only got one seal, why not the Caspian seal? It's critically endangered, completely different from, the gray seal, and how many people even know there is a Caspian seal? Alright, you don't like that one? How about the giant salamander? Chinese, Japanese, I don't care. You can pick whichever. It's super unique. It's the only amphibian that could reasonably be in a habitat. And hell, why not the yak? We've got pretty much every bovine under the sun, but the pack mule of the Sherpa can pound sand? Listen, I've made plenty of videos of the animals that most people call overlap. The wildebeest, rough lemur, flamingo, brown bear. And you see, all of them have at least something that makes them different. Wildebeest and lemurs, they look different enough to fit different environments, different vibes. The flamingos and brown bears, they live in completely different continents and environments. The Bornean and Indian elephants overlap in every way, especially in the way your game is set up, where foliage is determined on continent, not region. That's why I made one exhibit, because it would have been the same either way. I truly hope this isn't just you guys trying to phone it in and pad the roster. I mean, I could go on about my issues, but to be completely frank, I know there's going to be more DLCs, and hopefully you take this criticism to heart, although I'm fairly certain due to the size of my channel, you will never see it. But, with my complaints aired, we have some history to discuss. Now that that's done, the Asian elephant is the last species of the genus Elephas, and the closest living relative is the woolly mammoth. Yes, believe it or not, the African elephant isn't in the same genus as the Asian elephant. The Elephas genus did most likely evolve in Africa, and probably made its way east roughly 3.6 to 3.2 million years ago. Our animal in question probably evolved around 2.6 million years ago, and actually used to have a massive range, all the way from Turkey to the Yellow Sea and as far south as the island of Java. And today, unfortunately, you can only find it in scattered populations in India, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, Malaysia, Borneo, and Sumatra. And as with the last episode, it seems the Indus River people had set the destiny of these animals in motion before any of us even knew they existed. With fossils and artwork showing the animal was in some way domesticated and definitely revered. And it only makes sense, because if you think horses and mules were good at lugging cargo, imagine what a smarter, 4 to 5 times larger animal with a prehensile trunk could do. I mean, you could have it carry all sorts of stuff, like lumber, carpets, gold, plunder, live pissed off dudes with bows and muskets, siege towers. Yeah, you know where this is going. War, war, war. It didn't take long for those geniuses in India to turn the titanic timber trudger into the bane of antiquity infantry. As far as we know, the elephant had been the bulwark of putting boot up ass ever since 600 BC, in every nation east of Pakistan, as a matter of fact. From the conquests of Chandragupta, to the Chin domination of Chu, to Charlie and Nam, and to the Kachin Independence Army in the current civil war in Myanmar. From transport to tank, the beast of the East has been effective and loyal for over 2 millennia. And this importance shows with it being the national symbol of both Thailand and Laos, and the national heritage animal of India. Elephants are obviously also a religious symbol. Obviously, they are very large in Hinduism and make many divine appearances, including some very important gods that take the visage of an elephant or have animal parts, mostly the head. But there's even elephant cults that devoted worship to these animals in places like Southeast Asia, and some strange modern ones in the current era. As a matter of fact, in Siam, which is now the nation of Thailand, the elephant was a somewhat protected animal. But there was none more protected than the albino elephant. You ever wonder where the idea of a white elephant gift comes from? You see, if the king truly didn't like you, but really didn't have any recourse to kill you, what he would do is offer you an albino elephant. It is important that the albino elephant was so revered, you couldn't even put it to work. You couldn't kill it, you couldn't work it, and good luck feeding something that needs 300 pounds of food a day. And you see the issue here. If your average person can't take care of it, which they can't, and let it die, well, you might as well just jump into that grave with it, because no one's gonna like you. They're gonna hate your guts. God forbid you're offered this gift and you refuse the king. I mean, no one can just refuse a gift from the king unless you're Lincoln himself. Yeah. In 1861, the King of Siam had offered the President of the United States 2 elephants. But seeing how the National Zoological Park in DC wouldn't be founded until 1889, the use of steam engines were pretty widespread at the time, and, dickheads in Dixie decided to fuck up Fort Sumter, starting the American Civil War. So, obviously, President Lincoln had to decline the offer, though he was very grateful because he at least had a general understanding of the importance of this offer. Now, there's a couple things about this letter that people don't seem to understand. It was a pair of elephants. It was not like a massive army of war elephants, because they weren't even war elephants. They were just basic Siamese elephants. Another thing people probably didn't know is this wasn't a letter to President Lincoln. It was actually written to the president before him, Buchanan. However, I mean, trying to get a letter from Thailand across the Pacific Ocean to America to D.C. before the Transcontinental Railroad was built, it took some time for that letter to get there. So it was more of a gift to the United States than it was to an individual, so that may have helped in his favor. But with all that said and done, thank you very much for watching. If you are in the United States, happy 4th of July. I hope you had a nice, safe, and fun day. And until the next episode, when we get a little bit back on track, thank you very much for watching. Go outside, touch grass, hug your loved ones, drink water, and bye-bye.